In our monologue, we obtained new Ukrainian documents from Rudy Giuliani. Now, the Democrats earlier today, they actually went into a briefing room. They thought they were going to get impeachable evidence on the president. What they got was information that hurt their cause and showed about, the Democrats and, the DNC and the Hillary Clinton campaign. They were colluding with Ukraine in 2016, and they're admitting they tried to help Hillary Clinton, and they're also admitting the information they provided, had an impact in the race because they took down Paul Manafort with that information. Now, we also have Rudy Giuliani is threatening to sue along with the president, and the president, we now learn that former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani interviewed the fired prosecutor by Biden, and that would be the prosecutor Shokin. He's here to explain all of it. Mr. Mayor, well, Democrats had a bad dream today because they thought that it was all going to come to fruition tonight. It did not. You interviewed Shokin, and you may sue. That's a lot to digest.
Well, I mean, what happened today is the big announcement yesterday was the IG of the State Department was going to go over and give all these secret documents to the committee. And the committee, I guess, they were sitting there figuring out how they could do impeachment based on nothing. And what they got shoved down their throats is a complete, total, absolutely terrific prosecutorial outline of why Joe Biden is so guilty. It's a joke for me even have to describe it to you. What I did, first of all, it demonstrates that I prosecuted, that may be a Freudian slip. I investigated all of this starting in November of 2018, and I finished it by March 28, 2019. Now, why is that significant? That's significant because all of this was done while the Mueller investigation was still pending, while I was seeking, in the best tradition of being a lawyer, a defense lawyer, to vindicate my client. This is information that was given to me. I didn't go looking for Joe Biden. The Ukrainians brought me substantial evidence of Ukrainian collusion with Hillary Clinton, the DNC, George Soros's company. They put it in my lap. They came and gave me testimony. I wrote it out. I had a professional investigator make FBI 302s of it. Eventually, it was John Solomon, who should get a Pulitzer Prize, by the way, put them all on tape, so it's all memorialized on videotapes. So this is solid as it can get. And I interviewed them. In one case, I interviewed Lutsenko so badly he thought he was being cross-examined. I don't accept I didn't do what this phony whistleblower did. This phony whistleblower is giving hearsay evidence. He says, I'm not a direct witness. Okay, useless, pal. You're not a direct witness. Goodbye. I have what's called an affidavit here. This is not what the whistleblower did. This is under oath. It's signed under penalties of perjury by Victor Shokin. Victor Shokin has told me he's more than willing to come to America and testify before Congress and point the finger at Joe Biden and his son and basically support what the president said today. They're corrupt as sin. This is so obvious. It's like the nose on your face, Sean. The Ukrainian oligarch Zlochevsky didn't pay millions for Hunter Biden's non-existent skill. He paid millions to buy the vice president's office, and it was a good deal for Zlochevsky. He got Hunter Biden off the hook. He got Soros's company out of jeopardy, and he got to come back to the Ukraine and keep his $5 billion just for merely giving up maybe $100 million. He is actually going around Ukraine saying it was well worth it to spend the money to do it. If anybody would care to investigate, they could find everything I just said, except the FBI didn't investigate for a year and a half. The Justice Department didn't investigate a year and a half. My witnesses were afraid to go to the FBI and the Justice Department, which actually, to me, was like living in an alternate universe because I prosecuted people far more dangerous and far more difficult to catch than these idiots. And I did it with a great FBI. Couldn't have done it without the FBI. And I'm so disappointed at how Comey has corrupted the FBI. And at least on the surface, it hasn't been reformed the way it should. And I hate to say that, but I could not have given this to the FBI in early 2018. And Bill Barr wasn't there yet, so they wouldn't go to the Justice Department. So I gave it to the State Department. I turned it over to them. I gave them my witness notes.
Oh, my God.
I was hoping they'd come back and interview me. I was so happy when the secretary told me they were going to investigate. For 6 months, I saw no sign of an investigation. They never interviewed me. Without my knowledge, maybe they interviewed Shokin and Lutsenko, and I assume they did, but there's no evidence they did. And if they didn't, something's wrong. And it's been turned over now to the FBI. And if you don't interview an eyewitness who wants to go under oath and wants to be a confrontational accuser, which is what the Constitution requires, you got to be faced with your accusers. He's willing to face Joe Biden and say, you're guilty. You participated in a bribe of my president. You got me thrown out so that the case against Soros, the case against the billionaire, and the case against your son, and everybody knows you're corrupt, Joe. And by the way, this is eerily similar to what happened in China. Like, it's a pattern. And let's go take a look now at James Biden and how he was selling the office of senator when this guy was back in the Senate. This reminds me of a pattern of criminal conduct that spanned over about 3 decades that the somnolent Washington press corps just let happen and didn't look at. And if they had picked it up at any stage of the way, they could have protected us in this country against this kind of horrible corruption that makes a mockery of us in Ukraine and China.
Mr. Mayor, so you interviewed, I'm listening to all of this. If Donald Trump Jr. did any of this, if Donald Trump did this, they might actually have their first real charge against the president. We have Politico, we have all the evidence that the DNC and Hillary's campaign colluded with Ukraine. The media is deaf, dumb, and stupid, as they always are, and corrupt. You interviewed Shokin. We know why he was fired. He was told why he was fired. He's now said it 5 separate times, said he was fired because he was interviewing and investigating Biden's corrupt son. You're right.
If he was fired for being corrupt, excuse me, I don't mean this as an insult, but almost everybody in the Ukrainian government would be fired. I mean, if he is corrupt, he's not very good at it. He's quite poor. I know all these guys. Lutsenko's got a lot of dough, big cars, lots of money. Shokin is living in a village. He's living in a cottage. He's actually hiding and scared out of his mind that they're going to kill him because, I mean, I can't, this is not up to us to investigate. But if you think the president of the Ukraine let out one of the richest people, let him get away with $5 billion, without, what do they say in The Godfather? Picking his beak or filling his beak, or I can't remember that expression. Well, taking his portion of it. If you don't think Poroshenko got big millions for this, then you shouldn't be in the investigatory business.
Last question, Mr. Mayor. We're running out of time. You say you may sue. Who?
Well, we're looking at a very serious lawsuit. Adam Schiff kind of advanced that lawsuit today with the possibility that he had advanced knowledge and orchestrated this newest non-knowledge, no first-hand knowledge, therefore should be ignored whistleblower. In fact, he would have been ignored until they changed the rules. None of his testimony is admissible in court. It's all hearsay. Every bit of Shokin's testimony is admissible in court, but they don't interview Shokin. Actually, Shokin testifies to real corruption. This guy testifies to everything he says about me here is false. My meeting with Yermak was not set up because of the conversation. You know why, idiot? Because it was set up before the conversation. The 2 people he said I called, I never called. One of them I wouldn't have called because he was put on the list of corrupt people that I shouldn't talk to there. And I happen to have independent knowledge of that. So he doesn't know what he's talking about with regard to me. There are apparent indications I could point out, 7 or 8, where he's lying. Or at least so. He may not be lying. He's relying on other people. Maybe they lied to him. That's why hearsay evidence is inadmissible. Shokin has direct evidence. Kalyuk has direct evidence. Kalyanuk has direct evidence. Lutsenko has direct evidence. Tereshchenko has direct evidence. I have 6 witnesses who can give direct admissible evidence of Ukrainian collusion, not Russian collusion, participation in the Steele dossier with phony information, the creation of false evidence, and a very clear corruption scheme by the Vice President of our United States. And that has to be vindicated. And all of it was exposed before he was a candidate for president. And it's not because he's a candidate for president, because he was a corrupt, disgraceful vice president who disgraced our country in the Ukraine and in China. And they're still talking about how corrupt he is and how stupid we are for not catching it. It has to be vindicated for the honor of the United States of America. He disgraced us. And if you don't react to that, you have no sense of honor or dignity.
We will stay on it. Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Итак, вот что мне хотелось бы добавить к замечательному выступлению Джулиани.